Real quick, just stepping in to remind everyone that I have a movie channel. Check out my movie channel if you want. It's Jackson Kruger Movies. The link is in the description below, so if you're tired of just hearing my bad sports takes and want to also hear some bad movie takes, make sure you check that out. Again, link is in the description below. All right, let's talk about Tua, who is an interesting topic of discussion, and in fact, his whole career, there's been interesting discussions had around how good is he. So when Kyle and I did the podcast where we ranked quarterbacks, I put Tua, I believe, 13th on my list, which I thought was fair, but a lot of people were saying that I was too high on him. They felt like that was, if anything, too high, and I was ignoring some of the flaws in his game, specifically how last season ended. It's obviously fascinating with Tua, as, like I said, he's a guy who we've never really been able to fully get down exactly how good he is. Early on in his career, he got a lot of criticism for, quite frankly, not playing that well, or at the very least playing inconsistent. But, Dolphins fans were very high on him, and we're talking about, we felt like the general media wasn't paying enough attention to the positives and paying too much attention to the negatives. Since then, the negatives have pretty much closed up. I mean, he's gotten, really good at the processing plays incredibly quickly. He doesn't make very many mistakes at all, and has really just been a successful quarterback. 2 years ago was an MVP candidate, and last year, maybe not quite that, but at times he was an MVP candidate as well, and put up some real good box score stats, along with real good advanced stats as well. However, it did not end particularly well for Tua. So in this film study, those are kind of all the things we're going to talk about. Is what made him so good to start last year? Why did things cool off? And we'll end the video talking about just how good of a player is Tua. So yeah, let's just get into it. First, let's start off with a play like this, which this is one of the criticisms Tua gets. Some of these criticisms we're going to talk about are fair, some of them unfair, and some kind of in between. And this would be an in between, in my opinion, where you have Tyreek Hill running a deep shot in a one-on-one matchup. You might be wondering, hey, Washington, why are you leaving Tyreek Hill one-on-one here? Don't you know that's a bad idea? Well, I'm wondering the same thing. Don't know what Ron Rivera, actually, I believe this was after Ron Rivera was fired. Not sure exactly what Washington was thinking here, but when this play begins, Tua looks over, and he also doesn't know what Washington's thinking. Tyreek Hill one-on-one, I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity. Tua doing what he should be doing here. And as you see, Tyreek Hill gets a little bit open there, makes the catch, and is going to pick up a touchdown as well. Can't show the whole play for copyright reasons, but you get the idea. So I said this is kind of in between a fair criticism and a unfair criticism. A lot of people might be saying, how is this even a criticism? He threw for a touchdown. Well, I think the reason why this can be a fair criticism is Tua made a pretty good play that resulted in a 68-yard touchdown. That's something that other guys just don't have the opportunities to do because they don't play with Tyreek Hill. I think that's totally reasonable. But the other aspect is, well, I don't make my evaluations based on box score numbers. I don't look at a passer rating and then jump to a conclusion. I watched a film. So when I watch this play, I say, hey, good job, Tua did what he did. I don't overvalue these plays. So it's not like a criticism. It's just some people are going to overvalue these plays because they don't actually watch the game. They instead just look at box score numbers. And like going over to a play like this is going to be a zone coverage, more of a Tampa 2 concept that the Washington Commanders are in right here. So, okay, you see the route over the middle. This is the route that can work, and this is really where Tua shines. Watch him when he takes the snap. Just look at the quickness and the timing on this play as he so consistently gets these throws exactly when you would want to get them. There is that window over the middle, and he times these so perfectly. One of the other criticisms that Tua gets is arm strength, right? He doesn't have a cannon for an arm, but it's never really been something that has been an issue for Tua because, hey, on deep routes, it's more about timing than just having the arm strength, and he has at least the arm strength to get it down the field and times them well enough to make it work. And on these over-the-middle routes, where sometimes you do need the arm strength to fire it through tight windows, when it's well-timed enough, the window isn't as tight and it's not an issue. As you see, makes this throw. I also think the arm strength criticism is a bit overblown as well, so there's that factor. But yeah, as a whole, again, this is just really good stuff from Tua. His quick processing and timing is maybe the best in football. It honestly is. Like also going over to something like this where it's going to be zone coverage, and you see the concept on the screen for Miami. You have several receivers running deeper routes, and then you have an underneath one as well. But again, here's what I like about Tua is how quick he gets through his progressions. Watch as when this play begins, very quickly he's looking further down the field, as that's the way the concept is designed to work, but immediately doesn't love what he sees in that area. So what's Tua going to do? Well, he's going to instead throw it underneath. He reads the play, gets the ball in the correct player's hands, and hey, they gained a decent amount of yards on that play. It was an 8-yard gain, which is pretty good and actually really important on a 2nd down and 20. Gives you a chance on 3rd down and 12, whereas had he just tried to push it down the field and not gained any yards, well, now you're basically just setting up for a field goal. Again, consistently making these types of plays will really make a huge impact in football. And while we all like to talk about the splash plays, the 70-yard touchdowns and all of that stuff, the vast majority of football plays are these kind of plays, and being able to turn these plays into, as get the most value out of these plays as possible is like most of a quarterback's job. But now let's go over to this play where we have to talk about the final 3 games of the season for Tua, including that playoff game in Kansas City in the cold, as, let's just be honest, it was a bit of a mess. These are his box score numbers for those 3 games. You see that he had 609 yards in 3 games combined, so that's just over 200 yards, a negative touchdown to interception ratio, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a passer rating of one that would make Satan proud of 66.6. I think this play is a bit of what went wrong in these games. I'm not going to make it an overarching theory on like, oh, this is Tua as a player. He's fundamentally flawed. He can't fix things, because I don't know if that's true, but certainly he made some mistakes. You see Tyreek Hill running a deep shot. Usually, hey, just throw it up to Tyreek Hill. Here, though, when this play begins, there is still help. So the defensive player who was there, well, there's only one defensive player in that circle. He's right next to Hill because he knows if Hill cuts in a different direction, there's help there. So that's part of the thing, is that I do think that to some degree, Tua is especially good at beating up on your mistakes. And when you're playing a good defense who makes less mistakes, you have less opportunities. As you see here, this one gets intercepted right there, and I think it's probably fair to say that Tua maybe needs to make an adjustment when he's going up against better teams. Like, again, Tom Brady is someone who's amazing at taking advantage of his opponent's mistakes. What he does when he plays against good defenses, though, is he, starts taking a lot more checkdowns, stops pushing the ball down the field, and stops taking as many chances. I do think you could see maybe for Tua, who really kind of went through his first real run like this last season, because remember, he was hurt at the end of the year 2 years ago. This is actually something that's pretty common you see with young players when they're playing in their first playoffs, is that they struggle a little bit. Even Mahomes struggled a little bit when he was playing in his first key games. He still got to the conference championship game and nearly won because his struggling is still pretty good, and he was great in the second half against New England. But still, it's something that does happen, and I'm not going to overreact too much, but these are things he needs to fix. And also heading over here, I still do see this. This is something Dolphins fans have disagreed with me about, but it's something I see on film, so I'm going to bring it up, which is it's a man coverage concept that Buffalo is running right here. And it's actually just going to be a 4-man rush. But you still see, watch Tua and watch how he throws this ball. Watch how he kind of throws it off balance, right? How he didn't really get his full, he didn't get his typical throwing motion on that play. Feels like when there is pressure, his footwork gets wonky and he can make bad throws. There's a window here. Not a great window, but in a, key game where this isn't exactly a playoff game, but it's for the division. You want a better seed. Like, I'm sure Miami would have loved to not have to play the Chiefs round 1. But you see this throw is just a bit off and wasn't able to be caught. A tough throw, small window, but Tua makes tough throws in small windows all the time. He doesn't make them all the time when he's off balance. That's just how I view it. But again, these are fixable issues. Like, it's understandable for a young player to have some mistakes and want to get better. And like I said, the vast majority of plays you see are the ones I talked about in the first half of this video. They are, plays that you just have to run the offense, and he does a very good job at doing that. Has to be a little better against playing better defenses. I think that is reasonable to say. And part of that might just be, hey, get a better third receiver, get better options outside of Hill and Waddle to make that easier. That would certainly help. And also, there have pretty much consistently since he's been there been some offensive line issues at the very least. So, maybe helping out in that category could be a way to benefit as well. And they've made efforts at both those things this offseason. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.